Mix Design is your one-stop shop for custom clothing with a personal touch. At Mix Design, we can help you tell your story through your wardrobe. Your imagination on a hat, shirt, pullover, or nearly anything wearable. And while you're picking out some custom clothing, check out the one-of-a-kind handmade soaps from the Bobcat Soap Company. Find us on Facebook and let us create custom swag just for you at Mix Design.
Hey Hog fanatics, we at Inside The Hawg Pen are thrilled to announce that SeatGeek is now a sponsor. As brand ambassadors, we're excited to share that SeatGeek is a ticket app that simplifies the ticket buying process for all your favorite events. They provide a 0 to 10 score for each ticket, with green indicating a good deal and red indicating a not so good deal. As a special offer, Hog fanatics can get $20 off their first ticket purchase by using the code Inside Hawg Pen. Check out our socials for the link and remember to use the code Inside Hawg Pen.
Yeah!
The following program is rated TV MAL. It contains strong language and is intended only for mature audiences.
This is where the fun begins.
What is up, everybody?
But we've seen this movie before.
What's Sam Pittman known for?
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Is the Arkansas athletic program cursed? But you never know what the loudest mouth in the fan base and his wild band of misfits are going to say.
I have a river of Kool-Aid for basketball.
It's time to step inside the Hawg Pen with your hosts, Razorback Zach and Marcus MC Carlton.
Let me talk to you. Let me talk
Hey,
to
hey,
you.
everybody. How we doing tonight? I am your boy MC. That is not Razorback Zach on your screen. That is Dylan Madden. D-Mad filling in for Zach tonight. Had a little last-minute lineup change. Yeah, just a little last-second lineup change for tonight. And D-Mad's jumping in here with me like a good six-man does, and then we're gonna fill it in. And D-Mad, we got a lot to talk about, man, and it's not gonna be positive.
You know, I like to be the positive force behind our group chat.
Yeah, it's I mean, you know, it's been quite the week for Razorback Hoops, going back to Saturday, and then up through last night. And man, we'll get into all that here in just a minute. But before we dive off into that, got to welcome everybody into the show. Another edition of Inside the Hawg Pen, brought to you by Rock City Wraps, Seven Oaks Steak and Shrimp, SeatGeek, and Meek Design Company. And man, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Let's just get into it. Let's back up to Saturday to start with, and let's go ahead and enter the School of Hawg Hoops to get this very, very bad test review underway.
You're muted, MC. He's so excited.
I'm
he's
so
muted.
damn excited. I forgot to unmute my mic.
I have a river of Kool-Aid for basketball.
Yeah!
I still have my river of Kool-Aid. It's just not flooded right now. It's looking like the Buffalo River when you get like into late June and early July. You know, I have a few dry spots here and there, but the river's still there.
This is what I got to say about the game.
Yeah, yeah. We needed a lot of that from Saturday and then again from last night. We'll talk about last night in a few minutes, but if we're going to do this and we're going to review everything, then we'll just go ahead and review it from the start. Last Saturday, Hogs opened up SEC play at number 1 Tennessee. I mean, what can you say about it, man? You just went over there and got your butt kicked. I mean, that's just pretty much the only way I know how to put it over there
You
is
said
that.
it a lot nicer than I was about to.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to turn over a new leaf, new year, new me, trying to keep everything PG, be family friendly here. But I mean, there's just no other way to put it, and that you just got your butt kicked. I mean, you went over there. They had as many offensive rebounds as you had total rebounds. That's a problem. Number one. Another problem you have is that you shoot about 36% from the field, 20% from the three-point line, and an abysmal 44% from the free throw line. You're not going to beat anybody shooting like that.
Do you think if you took some practice reps, that might help?
So, all right. So, yeah, to elaborate on that comment, the decision by Cal to not have a shoot around that morning, I did not understand it. Obviously, he knows his team better than I know them. But to me, of all the games that you would want to have a shoot around on to make sure all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, to me, it would be when you're playing number 1 on the road.
That would probably be ideal.
I mean,
I'm not.
I don't know.
Listen, Dave Van Horn said I'm a Twitter coach this week, so I'm just gonna. I'm not a professional.
Well, I'm not going to sit here and think that I have knowledge anywhere close to that of anybody on the coaching staff. You could take my knowledge and put it in a thimble, and it might be halfway full of that thimble compared to what their experience, IQ, and just all around basketball knowledge is. But there are things that I question. I question not having a shoot around on the road against number 1. I don't care if it was a noon tip off. That's 1:00 Eastern time where they were. I don't understand it. And Cal says he regrets it. So, he owns his mistake. Okay, that's fine. We take the butt whooping. You go, you look at film, you try to get better from that, and then you move on. But, there's just a few things that I saw in that Tennessee game that, looking at it now after what happened last night versus Ole Miss, those should have been some red flags. And it was, a lack of communication on defense. We saw that again last night. And then also, Arkansas was not ready for the amount of physicality that Tennessee played with. Tennessee plays a very physical style of basketball, almost bully ball. Almost, if you're looking at it through the old man glasses, it's kind of like the old Detroit Pistons, the bad boys from back in the day. They have a touch of that in them. It's not quite to that level, but they do have a touch of that in them, and they're very physical. I don't know that I've ever seen a team crash the boards as hard as they crashed the boards in that game. And I don't know, man. It looked like a tale of two different teams. It looked like one that knew exactly what their assignment was properly prepared and locked in and focused, and one team that was just completely lost.
And let's be honest, part of the issue is we have a really young team, and you don't have teams that are just back in Cal's early success, he was the one and done king,
Right.
Everybody was trying to get one and done players, but nobody could do it like Cal did. And so he is trying to develop a new system because Rick Barnes has a team of players. Good God, how long is Zakai Ziegler?
Yeah, Zakai Ziegler, I mean, I that dude's got to be pushing 30. He's got to be.
Hey, easy. Easy.
Well, I mean, man, I'm pushing 50, so,
But, I mean, you have a guy who has a team that knows exactly what their roles are because they've spent so much time together.
Yeah.
And you have a team at Arkansas that spent max 1 year with each other. And
not even that, really.
I mean, you can still tell that there's no chemistry between this team. Yeah. When in doubt, it's like give Thiero the ball and let him go. And that's kind of what the offense seems like.
Well, and,
And
and it's, Arkansas started the game at Tennessee fairly decent. DJ Wagner had the first 7 points, and it was fairly close till I guess about the 10-minute mark of the first half, and a switch flipped of some kind, and it was never close again after that.
I texted my brother. I think we were up like what, 15-7 or something like that.
Something, yeah,
I texted my brother, well, that was a good start. And then after that, the wheels fell off. And I said, texted
yeah,
him back, said, never mind.
yeah, yeah. And it's, is it Tennessee adjusting? Is it Arkansas letting up and going away from what works? But I've said it on here before. Arkansas's offense operates the best when they can get to the high post area. When they get Thero or maybe Brazil or even Jonas Adu, which Adu had probably the worst game he's had in a Razorback uniform to this point over at Tennessee, and they were keyed in on him, and they were not going to let him do anything. Crowd was all over him, and I think it affected him a little bit.
I also think the fact that we're not really running offense through Adu. Like, he's a low post player, and when he gets
Yeah.
the ball, he's at the 3-point line. That's not how he plays basketball.
Yeah.
He's getting me the ball on the block and let me go to work. And I know Cal is smart enough and will forget more basketball than I ever know, but he's gonna figure out a way to kind of let Adu have his back to the basket and go to work. I also kind of noticed something when I was rewatching the Ole Miss the Ole Miss game, and there's a couple of times where Boogie's got the ball in the high pick and roll, and he's not throwing the lob. Like, he had a couple of opportunities to throw the lob to Brazil, and everybody on that team should know he can jump, if not to the same level, but a little bit higher than Thero. He can go get the ball, just put it up there, let him have a chance. Instead of taking a tough two, you get a for sure dunk. Like, we've got to be able to learn how to share the ball. And it's not saying to share the ball in the fact of like they're being selfish. It's they're scared to make plays.
I almost think that it's a situation where instead of just playing and letting the game come to them, they're overthinking it. They're trying to.
They're a step slow.
Yes, it's very much, you see this in football sometimes too with players, and it's like where they're trying to focus in too hard on doing one thing right, and it causes them to miss their steps or not hit the route perfectly. And I think you're seeing some of that with this team. They're overthinking the offense and trying to think about, okay, this is what we talked about in practice, so I have to do this, instead of just letting it come natural and not thinking about it and just playing.
Just move the ball. Like, the ball is moving slowly. The ball's got to move fast on a basketball team. You don't pass the ball half-heartedly. It goes back to the Mike Leach swing your sword argument. They don't do it half butt. They do it full throttle, And if you're going to make a mistake, people want you to make mistake, or coaches want you to make a mistake at 1,000 miles per hour, because they can adjust that. But if you're being timid, like you said, you're not going to be in the right position. You're not going to make the right play, and it's going to go haywire, and it's going to get your butt kicked every single time.
And I also think that this team, and Cal's talked about this too, and at some point in the season, it's going to be too late for this excuse to fly. I don't think we're there yet, but Cal keeps pointing back to the fact of, we had so many injuries preseason. These guys could not scrimmage together to develop chemistry. I do think that the lack of chemistry is an issue, because we still have guys trying to figure out their specific roles within the team. And we don't have, right now, if you had to pinpoint it and say, okay, we're in a tight game, we're coming down, we have to have a basket here. Who are we giving it to?
Thero.
I mean,
It's
maybe
gonna have to
Thero,
be Thero.
maybe Boogie. I mean, I don't know. And I think it's been a different. I mean, there's been some games where that guy was DJ Wagner, and it's just we have not figured out the pecking order of the offensive priorities, I guess is a good way to put it. Who's first option, who's second option, who's third option. I think part of that is why you're seeing John L. Davis struggle, because he was used to being option one, option two, and option three when he was at FAU, and now he's maybe option five when he's in, depending on who he's in the game with.
I will say, it seemed like Brazil and Nelly kind of have a chemistry growing, because I started noticing it during the Ole Miss game. Like, they're kind of playing off of each other, and it seems to kind of the wheels started turning a little bit for them in the
Yeah.
Ole Miss game. And that's the whole point, is they've got to be able to figure out that who do I need to get the ball to in order to make both of us successful, or
Yeah.
where. And I really do like Carter Knox, but he played his worst game as a Razorback at Tennessee. It seemed like I think he airballed a three.
He had a rough game. Very
Airballed a
rough game.
three, gave two bad passes right to Tennessee, and just bad foul after bad foul. I even saw Thero have a bad foul. He got the old Kevin Durant swipe through called on him. It was like, man, what are we doing? Like, you got to be use your head. But you can't have your hand in the cookie jar, because every single player in the world is just going to swipe your arm and get a foul out of it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, there's obviously still a lot of kinks to work out with this team, and you're going to have to work it out quick. I mean, you go over to Tennessee, which I didn't go over there expecting to win that game, but I didn't go over there expecting to get the doors blown off either. I thought this would be a 8 to 10 point game until about maybe the last 4 minutes, and then Tennessee might make a little run and push it up to about 15, and I figured that it would end somewhere between the 10 to 15 range, not in the 20 to 25, whatever it was. Now, I don't remember the final score now because I've tried to erase it from my brain. But that was a rough day. So you're thinking, okay, you take this, you go back from it, and you learn, and you get ready for Ole Miss, which came in last night on Wednesday night. And, because that really felt like it was going to be a bounce back game. I had told a couple guys that I'm friends with that they're not full on doomsday guys, but they're not fully bought in that Cal's going to get this thing turned around this year. And I kept telling them, like, dude, we're going to bounce back Wednesday night. We're going to bounce back. We're at home.
It's the old Must thing. I mean, you have a new team every year, and it took them about half the year to figure it out.
Yeah.
And you do have to be patient to a certain extent. And I think Cal is a Hall of Fame coach. He didn't just suddenly forget how to coach.
Right.
And he's got to have a little bit of grace here, because, I mean, he's got three players on the team that he coached last year.
Mm-hmm.
4 if you count the guy on the bench that's not really going to play much.
Yeah, that he's not going to play any. Yeah.
But he's got 4 players on the team that know his system, and then everybody else is trying to adjust. I mean, it's going to be an adjustment period, and like you said earlier, the whole injuries from the offseason, it's only going to get you so far. And I do think that they're gonna figure it out, because if you remember 2 years ago, whenever we went to Kentucky and they had Case and Wallace and all them, and they were a team that wasn't just super hot. They were starting to get going, and they figured it out against us.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the difference is between those two teams, but I can tell you that Arkansas took it to them, and that's kind of been Cal's biggest Achilles heel, is whenever teams kind of bully ball him too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Rick Barnes is, to kind of put a bow on this Tennessee game, Rick Barnes is really, really good at game planning and finding what his opponent's weakness is, and then looking at his lineup and being like, okay, this is the guy today that's going to have a big game, because what this guy does well is their weak point. I think you can say the same thing for Chris Beard. Chris Beard does a phenomenal job of that as well. Barnes,
you're a secret Ole Miss fan. Just say it.
I mean, no, I'm not, man, but I am a big Chris Beard fan. And I did want both guys who are now at Ole Miss at football and basketball coaches. I wanted them to be here. I make no bones about that. But we'll get into the Ole Miss game here in a little bit. We're going to take a quick break as we finish here with the Tennessee game. What can come out of this game? Arkansas's got to get tougher. They got to shoot better. The biggest thing to me, they've got to get the free throw percentage up, and they've got to get the free throw attempts per game up. I saw a stat last night. Only 15% of their points are coming from the free throw line. You're not going to beat anybody with that low of a number. Mm-hmm. You've got to get that up. It doesn't necessarily have to be half, but you need it 30%, 35%. You think back to last year and the year before, more so the year before last than last year, and I realize it's two different staffs, but that team was really good about getting to the free throw line and shooting. They averaged but somewhere between 20 and 25 free throw attempts per game. I think against Tennessee, I don't think Arkansas had, if you combined the free throw attempts in the first half and the second half, I don't think they shot 20 free throws on the day.
No, I think they had like 15 or 19 total, somewhere around there.
And they missed a ton. I mean, they shot 44% from the free throw line. You're not going to beat Pee-wee teams if you shoot 44% from the free throw line. So
let me pose this question to you before we go to break.
Yeah.
I think Arkansas is missing I don't want to say a bona fide 5, but I mean, let's take advantage off. We're missing a bona fide 5.
Yeah.
And do you think if Calipari would have got Somto Cyril to come to Arkansas instead of Georgia, would this team be any different today than they are?
Man, I think it could be. I mean, I watched that dude the other night, man, and he's a beast inside.
Mm-hmm.
He plays on both ends of the floor. I feel like he's as good offensively as he is defensively, and vice versa. Jonas Adu has not found the same level of scoring that he had at Tennessee. He's done pretty well for the most part until last night on the defensive side of the ball, being a rim protector and a rebounder, and not if not a shot blocker, a shot effector, if there is such a thing. It makes people think about before they drive in, because he's going to be right there to potentially slap it back in their face.
He's a big guy. I mean,
he is, man. He's bigger than I thought he was, honestly.
Him and Zavonimir, they're both big guys, but they're also both a little lean.
Yeah, they're a little lean, and let's just call the spade. Z's pretty soft.
Mm-hmm.
He needs actually the whole team needs a mean streak. I was going to say Z needs a mean streak, but honestly, the whole team needs a mean streak.
I'll say Zavonimir is a better version of Connor Vanover.
Yeah, that's a fair comparison, and on that, we're gonna say goodbye to Tennessee. We don't have to see them anymore this year unless we happen to meet up with them in the SEC tournament. And we're gonna go ahead and step aside for a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna recap the debacle that was last night, and Ole Miss continues to own Arkansas in sports. So you're watching Inside the Hawg Pen on the Sideline Radio Network. Stay with us.
Meeks Design is your one-stop shop for custom clothing with a personal touch. At Meeks Design, we can help you tell your story through your wardrobe. Your imagination on a hat, shirt, pullover, or nearly anything wearable. And while you're picking out some custom clothing, check out the one-of-a-kind handmade soaps from the Bobcat Soap Company. Find us on Facebook and let us create custom swag just for you at Meeks Design.
Hey, Hog fanatics. We at Inside the Hawg Pen are thrilled to announce that SeatGeek is now a sponsor. As brand ambassadors, we're excited to share that SeatGeek is a ticket app that simplifies the ticket buying process for all your favorite events. They provide a 0 to 10 score for each ticket, with green indicating a good deal and red indicating a not so good deal. As a special offer, Hog fanatics can get $20 off their first ticket purchase by using the code Inside Hawg Pen. Check out our socials for the link, and remember to use the code Inside Hawg Pen.
Yeah!
It's time to step back inside the Hog Pen to the Meeks Design Studios.
All right, back here inside the Hog Pen. Marcus MC Carlton, Dylan D Mad Madden in here with you tonight, sitting in for Razorback Zach. He had to take a last minute. He was a last minute scratch from the lineup. It was a game time decision, and just wasn't ready to go tonight. So we're going to give him a little rest, and he'll be back. He'll be back next week. All right, D Mad. Before we get into this debacle that was the last night's game with Ole Miss, I want to go a little more of a positive spin here and talk about anything good that comes on your plate. Most of the time, it's going to be well, I don't know where I'm trying to go with that. I had my train of thought, man.
Attention.
I had it and I lost it. So let's just do this. We're going to talk about where quality and tradition meet up, and that's in historic downtown Conway at Seven Oaks Steak and Seafood. It is the fine dining gym in downtown Conway. Very unique dining experience. They have the best local ingredients that they use. It's a farm-to-table experience. Their menu is all succulent. Seafood, grilled steaks. They've got gluten-free options, vegetarian options. They've got everything, man. They've got you covered no matter what type of palate you have that you want to fulfill with a really, really nice meal. And at Seven Oaks, the atmosphere is ideal for any event, intimate dinners, business meetings, mom and dad's night out. You know, that applies to me, and I am definitely going to find a babysitter for a night and take Mrs. MC down, and we're going to experience it for ourselves. But you've got quality, flavor, and tradition with each dish. Seven Oaks Steak and Seafood in Conway, where quality meets tradition. Indulge in your next culinary adventure at Seven Oaks. We appreciate them being a sponsor of the podcast, and they are also the first sponsor to get on board with the Inside the Hawg Pen radio edition, which is going to make its debut tomorrow. Snow or no snow, we're going to make the debut tomorrow on 101.1 The Answer. We're going to talk about NIL and how it has the direct effects that it's had on college athletics. Yeah. We're gonna touch on that tomorrow, 10 a.m., and then we'll be back live in the studio. Razorback Zach will be back live in the studio next Friday from 10 to 11. And who knows what we're going to talk about at that point. We've got a lot of things cooking on the board. We've got the radio show, and then what you're hearing tonight or what you're watching tonight will also be replayed over the weekend on 101.1 The Answer. Again, we're pulling the audible because Mother Nature is not being nice this weekend. I think the snow's already started down in the central Arkansas area.
Oh, but, it's pretty deep out there. And, you know, what's really the worst part about all this snow coming in, and I'll go ahead and break it. We had some really good interviews lined up for this.
Yeah, man, we did. And we had to kind of take them off the board, and had a couple former players that we were going to debut the episode with, and we were feeling really good about it. And here comes Mother Nature, just kind of gives us the backhand. Yeah, definitely raining on our parade as we launch the radio edition of Inside the Hawg Pen.
Do you want to introduce the event that we're going to be having here at Seven Oaks?
So yeah, while we still have Seven Oaks on the brain, we are working on a watch party at Seven Oaks on February 1st. Now, if you've looked at February 1st, I don't have to tell you who the opponent is. It is the former employer of our current coach. That team, the Big Blue Babies, as I like to say. It'll be Cal's return to Lexington. We're still finalizing details, so you can watch our social media pages, and we'll be talking about it on here as well. But we are working out the fine details to have a watch party at Seven Oaks in Conway, February 1st, for the 8 o'clock ESPN matchup with Kentucky.
And we have the event posted on Facebook too.
We do. And like I said, we're still crossing T's, dotting I's, getting everything finalized. But I will be in attendance. Razorback Zach will be there. I believe D-Mad's planning to make it
Oh, I'm
over.
going to get me a steak. Don't worry about it. And speaking of Chef James Harris, he had something to say earlier, so we can go ahead and pull him up. Says to you, good evening, gentlemen. Hogs need to crush the boards more and hit those 3 points. And why is our 7-foot center bringing the ball down the court?
I did notice that too, and I was scratching my head the same way everybody else was with that. I mean, you know, I don't know, man. At this point, I'm just kind of like, what, and we just kind of take it as it comes. But all right, man. We talked the crumble at Rocky Top. Now let's talk about what happened last night. And this game started last night. Arkansas looks good. I would say the first 10 minutes of the game, Arkansas looked pretty good. They were doing everything we said they didn't do at Tennessee. They were rebounding the ball. They were hitting shots. They were moving the ball quickly. You had backdoor cuts. You had communication on defense. I mean, at one time, I think Arkansas had an 8-10 point lead, and Ole Miss, to their credit, never panicked. Just kept chipping away, and they took the mojo, the tempo, the entire control of the game away from Arkansas and forced Arkansas into playing their game. And it also doesn't hurt when you have a guy on the Rebel roster who's averaging 7 points a game that goes off for 23 last night. That never hurts when you get something like that to happen. You can't. Ole Miss found a way to take Arkansas completely out of their game and get them to where they stopped penetrating the lane. They opened up the game. The first 10 minutes of the game, we're cutting to the basket. We're shooting layups. We're getting fouled. Some of them are getting called. Some of them are not. But we're moving the ball. We're doing successful, efficient things on offense. We're limiting how many shots Ole Miss gets on their end of the floor. There were a couple possessions they secured long rebounds off of three-pointers, or were able to slap the ball around and do a little tip drill with it and end up taking control. But we limited them to one shot on offense several of the first possessions, and that made a difference. That's why Arkansas was able to get out to a lead. Arkansas also controlled the tempo early in that game. And this team, as we have all seen, this team is at its best when it can run, when it can force turnovers, when it can have dunks, layups, easy transition buckets. I believe last night you had 6 or 8 fast break points for the entire game for Arkansas. That should tell you right there that Ole Miss was controlling the tempo, because they are not a run and gun type team. They are a grind you down, bore you to death, pass the ball around and catch you napping with 10 seconds or less on the shot clock.
We had 4 fast break points, and they had 8. And the bad part is they didn't even out-rebound us by a gigantic margin like Tennessee did. Like, they had 36 total rebounds. We had 35.
Yeah.
We had 8 offensive rebounds. They had 6. And I think the one offensive rebound I saw that really it was the straw that broke the camel's back. Mm-hmm. There was a three-pointer that was shot, and it was just it went over everybody's heads and just found a three-point shooter. He just grabbed it and threw it back up.
Yeah.
And it just changed the momentum of the game, it seemed like, at that exact moment. Mm-hmm. You got the whole team just watching him grab the ball and just casually shoot a shot. It's going to be one of those, it's like, really? But the team never really bounced back from there. I mean, we shot 21% from three-point range. We're 5 of 23.
That's not going to cut it.
No. And Ole Miss was 40% from three-point range, 39.1, whatever you want to call it. Ole Miss 46% from field goal. We were 37. I mean, that's not good splits at all.
You can't have splits on your field goal and your 3-point percentage being in the 30s and the 20s. You've got to get field goal percentage for this team has to be a minimum of 45% as a field goal percentage, and then for 3-point range, 30 to 35, which is doable for this team. We've seen them do it, but
you said 45-35.
Yeah, 45-35, and then bare minimum on free throws has got to be 60, 65%. I want to see 70, 75%, but I'm big on free throws being a key to every single win.
We were 70%, 17 of 24.
See, that's much better than the Tennessee game. And 24 free throws attempted on
That's
the night.
a lot.
That's a lot. That's a good number. You're getting there, 17 of 24. I would like to see that just a little bit higher, honestly, but again, I'm an old school guy. A lot of people don't put the emphasis on free throws that I would put on it. But I am a firm believer that you make 75 to 77% of your free throws every game, and you're going to win a lot of games.
I just remember just hearing it. Like people talking about if you lost a game or who lost the game,
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you we're 17 of 24. If you make, what is that, 7 free throws?
Yeah.
It's a tie game.
Yep.
If you make they're free.
Yeah.
Like, they are free.
I've never understood
Nobody's guarding you.
Yeah. I've never understood how these guys that are so talented and have the basketball IQ they cannot understand the emphasis that needs to go on free throws. Free throws are muscle memory. That's all they are. You find your routine, you sit there at the line. I mean, I still remember the exact routine that I used to shoot free throws with in high school. And I'm not a superstar by any means, but I guarantee you I could step to the free throw line right now, not having touched a ball in 3 years, and I could go 6 out of 10 right now. I have no doubt about that. And I just don't understand how these guys with all this talent, it is just it's a focus and it's a muscle memory thing. Free throws, they're called free for a reason. They should be gimmies. That has decided so many games, and that was a concern of mine coming into the year, because if you look at the history of Calipari teams all the way back to when he was at Memphis, I mean, you could make the argument that not being able to shoot consistent free throws cost him winning a national title at Memphis. And he's had several Kentucky teams that struggled from the free throw line. Now, they made up for it in other areas, and it wasn't as noticeable, but very seldom has he had a team that would shoot 75% or better as a whole. And I'm just a firm believer that if you make free throws, you're going to win a lot of games. Where Arkansas had trouble last night, Chris Beard is, first off, I think he's one of the best X's and O's coaches in the game right now. Here comes the love for Chris Beard, and I've felt this way about him since he was at Little Rock, man. I've always thought the guy could coach. He's a good X and O guy. He has a way of taking less talented players and getting them to buy into working so hard that they make up in effort for what they don't have in talent. And that was exactly the case last night, because these guys played hard the entire game. We were talking about this before we started the show. Last night, Arkansas looked disinterested, unfocused, and just honestly not prepared for the type of game that Ole Miss gave them last night. I think they come out early, got that little bit of a lead, and then they decided to get comfortable because they went away from what was working. Now, did they go away from it, or did Ole Miss adjust?
I think the word is complacent. Like, this team seems very complacent right now.
Yes.
Like, it almost feels like they're being told how good they are. They don't have to practice that hard. They just have to show up. And I know Cal's going to make the team practice, but
right.
The effort that you see in the game, like the big block that Adu had, that was it should have never even got to that, because I watched it, and I mean, Boogie was just kind of moseying back, just watching the guy dribble the ball. Mm-hmm. And he just ran, and like he just saw Boogie just hip to hip with him and just hit another gear and just ran right by him. And luckily, Theo had the presence of mind to look at the ball. It was like, no. Yeah. And swatted it. But if that didn't happen, that would have been an easy layup. And then you have Theo trying to go for a SC top 10 dunk on the other end.
I mean, take one more step, man, and you're going to make SportsCenter top 10, but you're too far out. I mean, that it's just little things like that. The little things, the details like that. one of the things that drove me absolutely nuts last night was how many times we would go running out to a guy not being in defensive stance, he would blow right by. I mean, it's just like it was nothing. And there was one in particular where the almost guy got the ball between the top of the key and the free throw line, took just a little jab step to his right, and we bit the fake extremely hard, and he just had a wide open lane to his left and shot a layup. There was so much lack of communication on defense, just bad defense. We'll just call it what it is. It's just
fouling
bad
a 3-point
defense.
shooter is go sit on the bench worthy.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I don't know what we are doing that is causing us to foul so many 3-point shooters in the game. You're not supposed to long jump on that. You're supposed to high jump. You're supposed to go straight up as high as you can. You're not supposed to jump out towards them. And where we're getting caught on the foul is we're not giving the shooter room to land. When Moses Moody was here, he made a living off of being the 3-point shooter who would come down close enough to the defender where it looked like the defender didn't give him room to land. And sometimes he would hit the three and get the free throws. A lot of times it would just be the 3 free throws. Either way, we've got to get better at 3-point defense. We've got to talk on defense. There were so many times that we either did not communicate or we had miscommunication because one guy would switch, the other guy would not communicate. We had 2 guys go with the ball. One guy left wide open. Well, it's an easy dish off at that point to shoot a layup. And that's little things, man. Defense is not – it doesn't take talent to play defense. It takes effort and hustle. That's all it is. That's all defense is. Defense is having the want to stop somebody and being able to communicate. You have to talk on defense. You have to let your teammates know, pick left, pick right, back pick. I got ball. I mean, you've got to communicate. You've got to have this, and this team does not communicate on defense.
You can't let a 3-pointer go on an inbound play either.
Yeah,
I feel like saying names right now because I rewatched the game right before we came in here.
Hey man, they're paid as well as they're paid. I say throw the names out, man.
I'm right there with you. Nelly Davis got caught watching the play because Theoro was getting screened, and he watched the ball or the screen guy run wide open, but Boogie caught him. And then the guy that Nelly was trying to guard got set up for a screen. I mean, you got to be paying attention. And then at the same time, why is the screener not saying, hey, bro, screen?
Yeah.
Or, helping, hedging out on the screen. Like, guy just had I think it was Brazil, honestly. But it's just, there wasn't any effort to get over the screen or switch off of the screen. Like it's just terrible
details,
effort.
Man. It's attention. It's a lack of effort and a lack of attention to details that is really bothering me right now. And those things, players have to execute, but I feel like the things that we're seeing right now that are issues kind of go back to the coaching staff a little bit, man. I mean, I have to call it like I see it. And, and I was thinking about this earlier today, and I'm sitting here thinking, well, is it really the coaching staff? And then I stopped myself and I said, okay, put this in football. And what is this the equivalent to in football? And who would I be blaming for that? And I was like, okay, that settles it, because if this was football and this was attention to details, because this is the equivalent of, lining up in the wrong position or jumping off sides or something simple like that comes down to discipline and coaching. I feel like that's where we're at with how terrible the defense has been these last 2 games.
I'll do you one better. Do you think a must-coach defense would be giving up this amount of crap?
I want to say no, but then I look at last year.
So take last year out, because
if you take last year out of the mix, I would say that his teams were defensively stronger than what we're seeing right now. Now his team did not have the individual star power that this team is supposed to have, and we've seen flashes of it. We have seen flashes of the offensive individual stardom, is how I will put it, because I still feel like this is a group of individuals. They're not playing together as a team. That's why they got beat last night. Ole Miss, while they were less talented, they played together as a team. Everybody that went on the floor for the Rebels last night knew their exact role, knew exactly how they were supposed to contribute while they were on the floor, and didn't try to do anything that didn't fall into their wheelhouse. We still have a lot of guys trying to figure out what their wheelhouse is, much less staying with inside their wheelhouse when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. We cannot run a half court set. We are not a half court offensive team. If we can't do transition points, we're going to be in trouble, because we saw last night what happens. We run the weave. We have our 5-man catching the ball 22, 23 feet out, where he's not any kind of an offensive threat, but the defense was forcing him out to that point. And when we do that and we get all 5 out around the perimeter, we might as well just give the ball up, because more than likely we're not going to score on that possession, because we don't set picks and we don't cut to the wide open lane.
It seems like there's a lot of ball watching going on. Like there's about 2 to 3 people involved on a given play. And if you're not involved, like you're sitting there, I saw once where DJ Wagner and Carter Knox were sitting on the near side. One was in the corner, one was on the elbow of the 3. And Adu had got the ball in the post and got double teamed. And I'm not saying this is wrong, but both of the players jumped in to kind of get that cut. Well, both of you can't go there. Only one of you can. And it's usually going to be the baseline guy that's going to make that cut, because it's going to be easier.
Right.
But you have both of them go there, just congest the lane, and guess what happened? It was a turnover. And and Carolyn makes a good point here. She says, we look like boys playing against men last 2 games.
That's pretty spot on. I mean, that Tennessee absolutely punked us, and then we ended up looking clueless last night at times against Ole Miss. And I hate to keep harping on this, but the amount of talent that this Arkansas team has that we've seen, this game last night, Arkansas should have won this game by 15 points if they had been locked in and focused and doing what they're good at. There was Ole Miss is a scrappy team. I don't mean any disrespect to them, but they are not as talented as Arkansas. They just outplayed, and I'll call it like it is. Beard outcoached Cal last night. He had a better scheme set up on offense and defense both, and took us completely out of our game.
I'm going to do my best Arkansas football impression. Do you think that this is because the fans weren't getting engaged with the game, like Eric Jernigan is saying here?
I mean, okay. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go off on this or not, but there's been a lot of talk.
Real quick, real quick, I'm gonna make a point. So the past couple of years, everybody's talked about Kentucky being like going to play, playing at a golf tournament, and Kentucky's slowly starting to turn their dial up on their home court advantage. Arkansas, for the past decade, has been one of the toughest home courts in basketball.
Yeah, not this year. Whew.
And I kind of joke with you about how there's a little bit of missing airspace when the ball's bouncing on MC School of Hawg Hoops. But that's what Bud Walton sounded like. What do you
want? Yeah.
Know.
You could have had church in there last night, man. It was so quiet at one point. And that's not Bud Walton. That's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be this loud, very unwelcoming environment. And the product
right into Carolyn Williams bringing back 40 Minutes of Hell, because 40 Minutes of Hell was partially the fans getting in your face and making that place a difficult place to live in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she brought up the one point that we would have trouble with this year is that the lack of depth. We've got the whole 9-man roster thing, and of the 9, I mean, let's be honest, you've only got about 7 guys who actually contribute. We finally saw Nelly Davis find his shot for a little bit last night. He had 11 points in the first half. You go into halftime thinking, okay, man, he's it looks like he might be finding his stride, and then he ghosted the second half completely. I don't even know what he ended up with for the whole game. I know he had 11 at half, and we had 5 3-pointers on the night, and he had 3 of them. So, it's just, I don't know, man. This team's got a lot of work to do, and
Nelly
things
had
don't get any
15.
easier. We had what?
Nelly had
He
15.
had 15, so he had 4 points in the second half after 11 in the first half. So and I would have to go back and look at this with a scouting eye rather than watching it from an entertainment perspective. But did they key in on him when he had the ball? I don't think so. I think he just didn't. First off, he didn't get near as many shots in the second half as he got the first half, so he didn't make as many. But I don't know, man. I don't know why we went away from him, because it felt like that he was starting to find a groove.
And paging Billy Richmond and Zvonimir Ivisic, where are y'all?
Man, Billy.
I don't know.
The only thing Billy did last night really was foul.
He had 1 rebound and that's a Ivisic. Ivisic had a rebound and a foul and shot twice and missed twice. Billy Richmond had 2 fouls, a turnover, and an assist. But
yeah, that's not exactly filling up the stat book.
No, we're on Tony Snell watch on our Arkansas roster right now.
Yeah, and I was looking at Twitter during the first half when Nelly hit those threes, and everybody's like, "Oh, Nelly's back, Nelly's back." I'm like, "Man, y'all pump the brakes. Let's get through a whole game before we determine if he's back or not."
Back, because he had to be.
Well, yeah, he hasn't been here the whole season. But I guess they were talking about compared to what he did last year. Look, if you haven't figured it out by now, the Nelly Davis you saw at FAU is not the Nelly Davis you're going to see at Arkansas. Unless something drastic changes. I mean, maybe we need to go get him a hypnotist or something, put him in a time machine, turn back the clock. I don't know. But I think there's something to be said for playing Conference USA level competition and playing SEC level competition. I think that's part of it. I think he's still trying to figure out his role, because at FAU, he was option 1, option 2, and option 3. He was the guy.
Nelly shot 41% last year at FAU.
Yeah, for 3 points.
But he also shot 143s in a 40-game season.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of threes. That's a lot of shots getting up. And, I mean, he's, I don't know that he's going to get 140 shots total this year, much less 143s. But we've got to find his role. We've got to find where he fits in. The same thing with Richmond, Carter Knox, some of these other guys. And we've seen that they can do it, because we've had games at some point or another. Billy Richmond comes in off the bench. He's a spark plug. He changes the mojo of the game with the energy that he brings. Last couple games, we haven't really seen that from him. Carter Knox, we saw him start to find his shot a little bit right before conference play. Is it a confidence thing? Is it, what is it? What is the problem with these guys that they can't seem to find a groove? And then the offense as a whole, why do we start settling for jump shots when getting the ball to the high post and making cuts, dribble drive, and dish? It's working. Why do we go away from it? That's the things that I want to see. That's the questions I have that I want to get answered. And things don't get any easier, because you've got Florida coming in next. Florida's coming off of an absolute beatdown of Tennessee on Tuesday night. The same Tennessee that put belt to the backside of Arkansas turned around and got that belt put on them when they went down to Florida. Team? Yeah, same team. And this is, we're talking a lot about Arkansas struggles. Look, when Tennessee went down to Florida the other night, you know how many field goals they had for the whole game? They had 12 field goals the entire game. 1 for 25 from 3-point range. So it's not just Arkansas that's struggling. Winning on that's what bothers me so much about this Ole Miss loss, is that you've got to take care of business at home, because winning on the road is going to be dang near impossible this year with how the SEC is and how strong it's going to be. You're talking about 13 teams being projected to make the NCAA tournament. 13 of the 16 making the NCAA tournament. You've got teams. Arkansas has Florida up next, and then they have back-to-back road games. They go to Missouri, they go to LSU. Neither one of those places will be easy, but I feel like Arkansas, because I don't think they can beat Florida, because what Florida does really well is exactly where Arkansas is very weak. Florida's deep. They got a lot of bigs. They're going to play similar to the way Tennessee played. They're going to bully you. They're going to knock you all over the floor. And then they've got a couple guards out front that are extremely talented on both ends of the floor. So that's going to be a tough one. The only thing you got to hope for is that Florida comes in here maybe not focused, because I think this is going to be their first true road test of the year. Now, what kind of atmosphere are you going to have at Bud Walton? On a perfect day, I would think a Saturday game, you could see some of what we expect Bud Walton to be. But, with this weather coming in and the snow, I mean, we've seen snow affect crowds in the past at Bud Walton Arena. So I don't know what to expect. I don't know if Arkansas can get this one. And if they don't get this one, you're looking at an 0-3 start with your next two games on the road. That's a scary thought.
My brother went to, I think, the Oakland game, and he was telling me about his experience, and he's saying how much different it is. It's such a quiet stadium now, and he thinks, not to throw shade or anything, but the guy with the mic that walks around, he's like, that guy's really cringe and is not doing a whole lot for him. And I don't even know what the issue is, because what happened? It's like the stadium changed overnight.
Yeah,
they're not holding the little pep rallies where everybody goes over the chants, or what? Because if the students are the ones that are the things that stir the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
If the students aren't into the game, then it's going to be quiet. But if the students have energy, that's going to give us old folk the energy to get up out of our seats and be loud with you, because we understand what being loud does to an opposing team. Insert picture of the Auburn player plugging his ears.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and another problem, and we'll have to continue this on another episode because we're getting ready to wrap this one up. But it is a problem when the majority of your season tickets are held by corporations, and those seats might or might not. They might or might not be full. They're outside of the marquee games. Those seats are not going to be filled. And sometimes when those seats are filled, they're filled with opposing fans, because whatever corporation bought those tickets gives them to employees that might be a fan of Ole Miss or Florida. You're going to see, I think you'll see a lot of that Saturday. I think you'll see a lot more Florida fans than you expect because of what's happened with the season tickets. I don't like selling them to corporations. I understand you want the revenue coming in, but your season ticket holders don't need to be corporations. It needs to be psycho level crazy fans like me, like you, like Zach, people that are going to stand up and yell louder in the middle of the hog call. It's got to be those type fans.
I might get talked to about this afterwards. However, I'm going to say it regardless. If your seat shows up on a ticket buying app more than 50% of the year, you are no longer entitled to those seats.
I agree.
I'm sorry for our sponsor, but it's not you, it's me. That's all I gotta say.
I just feel like that you've got to have, Bud Walton's known for having that crazy atmosphere, being one of the best venues in the Southeastern Conference when it comes to atmosphere for a ball game. We're not there right now.
Arguably the third most, sorry. Between Florida and Arkansas is the second or third most historic basketball program in the SEC. Yeah. Obviously, the Big Blue Babies are number one.
Yeah,
whatever.
they're going to stay there. That's fine, whatever.
We are literally cream of the crop when it comes to the basketball tradition of the SEC. So we need to start acting like it and being loud and being more like Alabama fans of football and expecting to win and not just tolerating losses.
No, I agree. And no better time to start that than this Saturday when you've got Florida coming to town. Florida coming straight off of that upset of number 1. I think they were number 6 prior to that game, so they were going to jump up. Let's take away all their mojo from taking that win against number 1 ranked Tennessee by bringing them in here, to the slaughterhouse and just taking care of business like we should in basketball. I mean, nobody should come into Bud Walton Arena and win games the way that Ole Miss won last night. That can't happen again. You've got to start it. You've got to start it this Saturday because, like I said, after this Saturday, you go on the road for the next two. And the rest of the conference season is 2 at home, 2 away, 2 at home, 2 away. You've got to take care of business at home because the road games are going to be very difficult in the SEC this year. And with that, final thoughts, D-Mad, what you got?
I think the fans are the problem when it comes to the basketball team. And what's bad is like I'm partly serious, but like I do think that there's a lot of issues when it comes to basketball.
Yeah.
Like on the court issues, but at the same time, if y'all don't give the players anything to be amped up for, like these players in the semifinal game today, I was just watching it before we went on, and they were talking about how loud the stadium is. You know, if you go into that game and like the stadium's just kind of meh.
Like
I mean, how many people are gonna be just amped up to go in there? I mean, that's kind of like going to work on a Monday. Everybody's kind of dragging their feet and going through the motions.
Yep.
But if you're amped up to go in there, I mean, you're going to affect the players. You're going to affect the opposing players too. And just like our coach has said in his opening press conference, you didn't ever go into Bud Walton expecting to win.
Yeah. And Arkansas has to find that. We have to find that because there are times when the players, like you said, man, they can feed off of that, and it can be the difference in a win or a loss. My final thought, forget 0-2, play the next game in front of you. The next one is Florida, Saturday. Go in, get that. You're 1-2 in your first 3 games with 2 very winnable games, albeit they're on the road, but you're looking at 2 of the I don't want to say the bottom of the SEC, but 2 of the lesser talented teams in Missouri and LSU. You can't take them for granted, but if you're going to have a winnable road game, it's probably going to be one of those 2. So you got to go take care of business. And the season's not over. I'm not out here saying season's over. We're done. You know, I'm not going to do that.
Sorry.
But it is starting to. The panic button's getting a little closer to my reach now. I still want to believe that they can put this all together in February and make a run in March, but we've all just got a sour taste in our mouth that goes all the way back through last year basketball season, through last year football, all the way back to last year baseball. I mean, the sour taste. We're waiting on something to get this sour taste out of our mouth. We thought it was going to be Cal and the Hoop Hogs, and you know, I feel like we're slowly losing faith. But
MC, I'm sorry. One last thing. We didn't get into it, but baseball. I heard that we play a certain team from Arlington, Texas.
Yeah.
Is this the right time to put on my tinfoil hat, or should I wait?
I would tease that, and we will address that next week. But he's talking about playing TCU, and if you remember back to a couple years ago in the regional. DMAT has a very specific theory.
It's not a theory. TCU. It's not a theory.
But baseball, 5 weeks out. First preseason polls out. Arkansas comes in at number 13. You've got 3 pitchers that are preseason All-American, so you got to figure your Friday, Saturday, Sunday guys are all 3 going to be All-Americans. That's a good sign. We'll see. Baseball's a long season too, but we're 5 weeks out, man. We're 5 weeks out from baseball being here, so. We're about to hit that sweet spot where basketball and baseball overlap, and it's going to be fun as well. So we'll just buckle up. We'll take Saturday as it comes, and we'll be back here next Thursday night to recap it all, good, bad, ugly, whatever it may come. Y'all know we're going to be here, and we're going to be talking about it, so y'all might as well come in and help us through our group therapy session when we're venting all these bad feelings out, and hopefully we've got a basketball win to talk about next week. So to put a bow on this tonight, for D-Mad, Dylan Madden, thank you, sir, for stepping in as 6th man of the night. You get the MVP award tonight for stepping in last minute.
You the real MVP.
And don't forget, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., 101.1 The Answer in Central Arkansas, in Little Rock area. If you're out of Little Rock, check the Facebook. There's probably going to be a stream going.
Show.
Yeah, Dave Ellswick Show. And then at 10 o'clock, first edition, Inside the Hawg Pen. We're not going to be live tomorrow because of the weather, but we do have an episode locked, loaded, and ready to go. And it's about everybody's favorite topic right now in college sports in general, NIL. So y'all tune in tomorrow. We'll be back next week. For DMAD, I'm your boy MC. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching this episode of Inside the Hawg Pen. Listen anytime on your favorite podcast provider, and be sure to follow us on all our social network channels.